Welcome, messengers. We're here in the virtual video studio, live in the Bay Area. Today we're doing a spotlight interview with Jyoti. I have her here with me now. So Jyoti, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your message is?
Yes, hi, thank you. My name's Jyoti Conradi, and I have two major websites right now that are pretty much the focus of my work, which are 1millionpainfreehumans.org and miraclesmanifestnow.com. And my whole life has been really about facilitating the awareness that each of us has within us something that is unique and profound and amazingly out of us in all times of our lives, and especially those times where we're really challenged. And many times in the world, people go out and look. We'll have a challenge, and we'll go out into the world and look for a solution that we think, okay, so other people have done this, work for me. And what I'm really here to show you and to demonstrate for you and entrain you into the awareness that there is this magical, amazing presence within you that is waiting for this challenge so that you can move beyond it and bring forward into the world what is uniquely yours. So it's not about following anyone else anymore. Allowing yourself to come forward in a supernatural way that you didn't even know that you had. So this is my major focus in all of my work at this point in time.
Thank you. It sounds to me a little bit like you are helping other people identify specifically what their message or their passion is, or what their innermost self is, and helping them bring that out. If that's what it is, could you describe a little bit more what the process is that you take people through?
Well, that's really interesting. So the way that I work is entirely innovative, and no one else does the work that I do in the way that I do it. I was not trained to do this work. I was born doing it. So I have a very solid awareness about exactly what I'm here to do and why and how. So what that means for you is that if you come to me, say you come to me through the door of, a pain or a broken relationship, or the need to bring your finances up to another level, or the feeling of boredom and it's time to move into something new now, you can feel it. What I do is I don't do any linear process with you at all, because fundamentally the mind and everything that the mind understands, it controls you with. Okay, so if you are on a path and you think that you're going somewhere, your mind is going to give you the attaboy feedback, right? That you're doing this thing and you're in a process and it's, yeah. But what happens is the mind is controlling you. So the work that I do completely bypasses the linear mind and creates instantaneous, permanent change and transformation. So it's very different.
All right, that sounds actually really, really fun. Can you give us a couple of examples of what that looks like? Is it a conversation that you have with people? Is it exercises you take them through? What does that look like?
Oh, it's very different. No, I don't even speak to any of my clients unless I'm having a seminar experience or a public talk or a demonstration of my work. Primarily, people will send me an email and they will say, it's interesting, the emails that I get. Some people will just say, okay, I know that you absolutely know what I need, so I'm not going to tell you anything about my life. And I say, okay. And I already know the moment someone emails me whether I can help them or not. And I will never work with someone that I can't help. So I will, even if the personality's saying, I need this and you're the only one and I know, if I get that you're not ready, I will not work with you. So let's say you just sent me an email and said, okay, I'm ready to join this adventure with you. And so, um, say you are coming for a session, because that's an easy one. So you come for a session, and so the moment that you submit payment to me, our work begins. Now, I won't complete it until it is complete. And I absolutely know when it's complete. I work directly with the patterns in your soul, which create and manifest every single thing that you experience in your life. So it manifests the mind, it manifests the belief systems that you live within and are confined by. It manifests what is drawn into your life and how people show up in your life and with you. It determines the capacities and the limitations, and as well as the ceiling on relationships in your life. So when I work with these constellations, I see them as constellation patterns in the soul. And I work with them, and I don't do it within time. Okay. I don't say, okay, well, next Tuesday at 2:00, you can come in and see me and, we'll work this out. No, it's immediate. And the changes you will begin feeling as soon as we start working together, because things start shifting in your being and in your life. I'm trying now to complete the sessions within 24 to 48 hours. However, I will not leave anyone undone, and I'm not going to abandon anyone in the middle of a process. I have worked with people for weeks at a time. So it's not based upon the time that I do with you one-on-one. It's about literally assisting you to transform your life in a permanent way. So when I'm finished with the session, I have a series of recorded videos that I've recorded when I've been extremely inspired by, in a location, or just the feeling comes and I create these videos. And sometimes I'll create a new video depending on if I get that, that's what you particularly need for your session. And I I actually encode into the recorded video our session, and then I send it to you in an email. Usually by the time people receive their emails, they're already feeling this amazing shift in their whole life. And it literally continues on from there exponentially for the rest of your life. So these constellations that shift and change can literally change your past as well as your present and all of your future, just in one session.
So, Jyoti, when someone works with you and goes through a session process, when they walk away, what are they walking away with? What can they expected to leave and feel energized about or experience from there forward?
Well, first of all, what this work does is it opens up your true life's potential, okay? And people come for many different reasons. So it might be that something in your life isn't working, or something needs to be working better, or, it could be a horrible experience that brought you here. But whatever that one thing is, usually that people come here for, that is just one aspect of what gets addressed in our work together. So you literally go through a fundamental life transformation. What people report to me that is completely like everybody, that everybody experiences, is they sleep better, they have greater intuition, they feel more aligned in their spirit and their soul and their personality. Their relationships improve or fundamentally shift into improved people relationships coming into their lives, new relationships coming into their lives. A lot more energy for their lives, and a lot more clarity about what is theirs to do. People also start nourishing themselves in ways that never occurred to them before. Gosh, there's so many, there's so many things that people tell me regularly. And that they feel at peace, so that when life used to stress them like really big time, there's now this peace response, this new way of being in the world. Because like really, literally, once you're aligned with who you really are, everything in your entire universe shifts. And a lot of people also manifest money, or money shows up for them in ways that, who would have ever thought?
All right. So it sounds like you're doing work with the shifting and changing the soul, which governs and changes the mind, which dictates all of our behavior and thus changes your life. So it sounds like a very, very overall radical shift that you're creating in a person with this alignment that you're creating. I guess the question I have, what I'm wondering is, if somebody works with you and goes through a session, do they have to come back in a year or every week, or is it like a one-time thing, that's it, you're aligned, go out into the world?
Um, it depends. So sometimes there are people who say, what do I need? They'll just send me an email, what do I need? And I'll say, oh, well, you particularly need 2 sessions and a custom light infusion download. Or you will benefit now from the miracle heart activation, and then we can see about a session after that. So I know what they need, and I communicate that in the very beginning before we start. And so in the very beginning, when I started doing this work, I thought, okay, I'm like the girl who shows up, does what I do, aligns people, and then I don't want followers. I don't want people, needing me to fix anything else in their life, right? So, because I'm not a fixer, I'm an aligner. So, and I align people with who they are and allow that to come forward in their lives. So, for the first couple of years, I've actually only been doing this work as my source of income. I've done it my whole life, but I've only been doing it as my source of income since 2009. And so the first couple of years, I was very clear that I wasn't willing to take on a client again. Like, if like they're aligned now, their whole life is at this whole other level. What more can I do, right? But what the interesting thing that started happening is all these people started coming back saying, my life fundamentally changed, and now I'm at this whole other level and I'm ready for the next level with you. And I was like, oh, okay, so this could go on. Okay. And then I started working with them again, and then their lives like change even more and get better and better and better and better. And it's truly amazing to witness. I feel so blessed and honored every single day that I get to see these people fundamentally, radically change their lives and live from this entirely new place that is just, beyond even in a lot of cases what they could have ever imagined for themselves. So it's profound.
That's awesome. This is probably only work that you do one-on-one, I'm guessing, but just to throw it out there, do you do any sort of group sessions or community activities or anything like that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I've done this work with, okay, so I had this seminar, and it was for 110 or 12 people in Vienna, Austria. And when I was there, I realized it was like this automatic awareness that I could literally work with every single person in that room at the same time. So I was so psyched to discover that and then to play around with it. So we did 3 days of that together. And I would say, okay, so tell me, who has something, who has pain, like who has physical pain, right now, and tell me on a scale of 1 to, like 90% of the people in the room raised their hand. And I was like, okay, so let's work with that. And so we did. And, I just do. And sometimes when I do my work, I like put my hand up, and I use my hand to like, I'm working with each individual's person, and I can see it individually and collectively. So, so sometimes it kind of looks like this when I work with people, and other times not. But during this experience, what happened was every single person in the room was then free of pain completely, like zero. Whereas some people were like high on the scale of, it's really hurting and it's hard to sit in this room because it hurts so bad. And other people were just kind of like, oh, it's, maybe like a 5 or a 6. It's kind of intense, but not so bad. And some people were like, oh, it's just, dull, mild, and annoying, but I'm okay with it. And everybody's pain was down to a 0 after that. And it took less than 2 minutes. Pretty
This is
cool, huh?
really, really fantastic to be hearing this, and I know you probably can't go too in depth with all of it, but with you talking about this, I'm really wanting to know: is it like just hands-on energy work that you're doing, or are you talking, or is there touching involved, like different muscle groups or something like that? Like, what's happening when you work with someone?
Okay, so usually I don't ever talk when I'm working because then I have to shift into the linear mind, although I can do that. And like, so when I'm working with people face to face, one on one, and in person, I never have to touch their bodies ever. Sometimes, well, sometimes it'll be like like I'll want to kind of stand behind them because sometimes people have lost consciousness. I try not to do that because that's kind of something that a lot of, quote, spiritual healers do, is they make people pass out, and I don't want to do that because I feel like I don't think your linear mind needs to see that you've completely lost consciousness to know that something fundamentally radically just changed in your life. So, I don't touch people. I usually don't talk to them unless I'm really guided to say something. Or, there's a difference. So when I'm working with people at a distance, we don't have the personality interface at all, which is so divinely inspired and amazing because then, so my personality is like, I want to talk and I want to get to know people and, I like really want to connect, right? Well, when I do my work, at this distance, we don't have to interface with the personality. So I just go straight in, do the magic, and step out and go, wow, okay, this is really cool. It's done. But when we're in person, sometimes, I like, oh, I'm noticing, okay, an emotion is coming up in you, and I can get all over that, which is why I do most of my work at a distance, or I do a group at once so that I can't go in too deep because that's the part that sort of, I mean, it's very important in human relationships to have that level of, mirroring of the emotion and, and solidity and really being there in support of someone. But I found this is actually why I do it the way that I do it now and outside of time so that there's not that the personality just is not in the mix. So people feel literally, unconditionally loved. And I can back that up with my full presence without, you know, my personality getting in the way with theirs. So if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you. And thank you for taking us through that process. With the few minutes that we have left here, would you share with us, well, first off, if there's anything else that you would like to leave us with, and if you have maybe a tip or two that you can give the audience and the members right now that even if they're not working with you at the moment, what they can do to create a shift in their life, maybe by being more open or something like that, if you have a tip that you can share.
Well, first of all, I would like to sort of remind everyone that, first of all, I fundamentally feel and see and know who you really are at the core of your being. And there is nothing you need to learn. Nothing. You can learn skills throughout your life. You can develop, things. But when we're talking about who you essentially are and being the best person that you can be, it's not going to come through a technique. It's not going to come through a method. It's not going to come through a modality or any healer. Okay. It's about you and you accessing fundamentally who you really are is in the core of your being. And there's happiness there, and there's joy there, and there's immense resources that you could not even possibly imagine. So Many people will tell you that life is a school and that you have to learn and that you have to earn, these levels of awareness or these levels of being. And fundamentally, that's not true. That keeps people in business in the self-help industry. Sorry, I'm saying it, but it's the truth. And I absolutely can see in each person that I witness what that magic and amazing presence is. And I'm here in support of that for you. So even if we don't do any work together personally, one-on-one, I have, and I will continue to add free videos on YouTube that people have had fundamental transformation at such amazing core levels of their lives that they couldn't have even imagined. And it's just been through watching these free videos. And to tell you the truth, they even work for me. So I had a situation, I just want to share this with you because it was so profound for me. I was going to a foreign country in Austria, never left the US before, don't speak German. And I was so nervous about, having 120 people in a room with me that I was going to be with for 3 solid days. And right before I left, my older daughter had strep throat. So on my way flying to Vienna, I got strep throat in the, 12-hour flight. And I arrived and I was really extremely sick at all. And I looked like a chipmunk and it was horrible. And we had like all these people coming in to work on me and help me and blah, 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 blah. Great doctors. These are amazing homeopaths, MDs, osteopaths, you name it. They all came to my flat to help me so that I could teach for this seminar. And finally, I'm laying there 3 hours before I have to go on stage. 3 hours. And my nanny comes over and, I answer the door to let her in. And she looks at me and she says, "You look like hell," in English. And I was like, yeah, I think I better go figure out what I'm going to do in order to do this seminar. So I go back down and I lay down in my bed and I was like, okay, my daughter's taken care of. So what is it that I need to do right now to heal for me? And I heard, "Go watch your video." And I was like, are you kidding me? On YouTube, the video that I make for all these other people to release their pain or, whatever. And literally turned on the video, watched it. And my nanny was in the room with me and she watched me come back to life. I had 104 fever. My glands were huge out to here. And I watched this video and within 2 minutes, my glands were back to normal. My voice was back. I got up, got in the shower and walked 11 blocks and taught for 3 days solid, talking and hanging out with people. So I'm telling you, they work. So you don't actually need to work with me unless you're like ready for fundamental life transformation. And it can even happen through my free videos, as well as my new free 21-day self-nourishment immersion program as well. That's also available to you from my love for free.
That's really, really powerful stuff. Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you for joining us and for sharing your message on this Spotlight interview.
Thank you.
Thank you, messengers, for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.